Okay, I'm Don Stoll. I teach college composition in New Jersey.
And I'm Dan O'Rourke, and I teach high school English in Chicago.
So we want to have a conversation about what we call the big picture. I'm the kind of learner who likes to know how what I'm learning fits into the big picture. Why am I learning this stuff? How is it going to help me? My question is, how does AP Lang fit into the big picture? And I think a good place to start may be to clear up how AP Lang is different from traditional high school English, a traditional high school English course. You're a high school English teacher. Tell me about what happens in a typical high school English course.
Okay, no problem, Don. Traditionally, high school English courses focus on the study of literary texts, poetry, short stories, plays, novels. So the reading and writing that students do in English primarily revolve around literature. Even with the recent influence over the last few years of Common Core and Common Core standards, which makes a push towards analyzing writing about informational texts, English courses still tend to focus primarily on literature.
So when you say English classes focus primarily on lit, can you clarify that a little bit?
Sure. English teachers typically ask their students to read as the audience of the text. This means a couple of different things. One popular way to teach literature in high school is to take a reader response approach to the text, which encourages students to simply react to the reading, feel the feelings, immerse themselves in the wonderment and fantasy of the story. With this approach, there are no correct or incorrect readings of the text, just the student's personal responses to it. And since there is no objectivity on the student's part, there is no assessing for accuracy on the teacher's part with this particular approach. Another popular approach for high school English teachers is a more formalist one that encourages students to note how the style of the text conveys the author's intended meaning. This approach aims to not only foster the student's imagination, but also to draw their skills at drawing valid interpretive conclusions about the text's deeper meaning. But with either of these approaches to reading instruction, students are taught to read as audience.
Oh, I know it was an oversimplification, but stick with me for a second. The objective of reading in the lit course is to react to what the writer is saying to them as an audience member. And they need to write to demonstrate that they got it, right?
Pretty much, Don, yes. And when we do, aside from the literary text, and when we do use informational text in the English classroom, we mainly focus on fostering student skills with surface comprehension by coaching students to summarize main ideas, to visualize, and make personal connections while reading so that they can best demonstrate that they got it.
Now, the objective of reading in the Lang course is, from my perspective, fundamentally different. Here, the reader needs to read not as an audience member, but as an observer, largely divorcing himself or herself from the audience's reaction. The focus is on analysis, what the writer-speaker is trying to do, to whom, and how they go about it. The writer as analyst needs to avoid being swayed insofar as it prevents them from focusing on the task of analysis, which is, by definition, to examine and determine truth.
Good. So hold on one second, and let me interject here. This idea of analysis, more mature and sophisticated reading of literature also asks students to analyze. What I was referring to earlier as taking a formalist approach to literature instruction. We do, so this is done in the high school classroom too. We do want students to ask, how does the writer accomplish what he accomplishes? What does the writer make the audience feel, or I should say what? How does the writer make the audience feel a certain way? Or how does the writer convey a specific insight or experience? We particularly like it when students can articulate answers to the how questions in their writing.
Yeah, that's really very true. But analysis in the Lang sense has a different purpose. Grasping how a writer does what he or she does is a means to really a different end. The reasoning behind asking the reader to assume the role of analyst is based in the need for those in the academy to only deal with examined truth. Analysis in this sense is all about uncovering what's really there, not just appreciating it, but to uncover what's really there.
Okay, I see your point. So the kind of reading we do in the lit-centered class is clearly different from that we do in the Lang class, as you put it.
Yeah, where I'm going with this is really how the difference impacts the student. I mean, he or she's accustomed to and expecting to be rewarded for reading as an audience. That's what they've done all along. They instinctively are slow to trust an English teacher who does not do this. Students need to be apprised of this difference in how they're being asked to read early and reminded of it often. If they don't accept this fundamental difference, all they will do is walk through the motions. They'll follow the instructions to the letter, especially AP students, and welcome models that can allow them that they can follow without having to really alter what they think English is all about. So I'm a little uncomfortable when Lit and Lang are being taught in the same classroom. I think it's kind of a minefield.
Good. Well, I agree, Don. Upon entering my AP class, students, I'm thinking you're asking about how students feel. Well, they simply see it as a class that makes them read and write a lot. As the year progresses, the sharpest and the most diligent, hopefully, will begin to get a sense of what you're talking about here. That is not only how a writer moves the audience in a certain way, but why. For the rookie AP English teachers, it's harder to say. Let's look for a second. I'm going to try to share a screen here for a second. And I'm going to just try to share a screen. If you can see, you can't see my screen yet.
There it is.
Hang on. Oops, there. I would like to share this screen with you because what I want us to look for just for a second at the course framework provided. It's actually page 19. It's page 19 of the CED. The College Board has done such a nice job articulating essential knowledge statements, which then play into these core skills that we see. And finally, the essential the enduring understandings and the big ideas that I think teachers can be tempted to jump right into the unit guides, like the course as a glance, without giving pause to reflect on the big picture first. They just want to jump right in to say this course framework, start teaching the skills without pausing to see the big picture. So I'm anxious to hear more about what you're talking about here.
Well, let's talk about the college composition course. That's what I teach. And that's the course that presumably success in the AP Lang course will replace. They won't have to take college composition. So it's important to me that they are doing in the AP Lang course what they would be doing in a college composition course. Otherwise, they're just going to be missing that. So if we accept for the sake of conversation that learning is a kind of assembly line, that the model think about the model in mathematics. You learn plane geometry before you learn solid geometry. You learn algebra before you learn calculus. That assembly line theory is that you learn yesterday what you need to know today, and you learn today what you need to know tomorrow. So the College Comp 1 course is very different than the high school lit course. It builds on many of the aspects of your course, but it's a much more specialized course. It's really not dissimilar to teaching a foreign language. I mean, they already have a set of vocabulary and they understand syntax and structure, but what they're learning is a series of conventions and how to use this. The course focuses on learning, practicing, and refining two very specific skills: effectively reading evidence-based arguments and effectively composing or writing evidence-based arguments. And the domain of these skills is very specific as well. It's how such skills are practiced in an academic community. Historically, these skills were seen to undergird the core work of the academy.
Good, and that's a super interesting point, Don, and very helpful for us high school teachers to know. Can you take another minute to give a little more clarification?
Okay, at the heart of the academy the academy exists to facilitate human learning. The model it operates on is building upon existing knowledge to create new knowledge. The common metaphor is don't reinvent the wheel. Researchers seeking a COVID-19 vaccine don't begin from the beginning, from scratch. They follow tried and true practices and procedures, and study what previous work has been successful and what has shown little promise. This model dictates that past work be accessible to future researchers. And that's really what we're talking about here. What we teach in Comp 1 are the tried and true practices for recording research. Its more formal name would be the conventions and preferred practices of the academic discourse community. At the heart of these conventions is the necessity that academy work be presented clearly and accurately. It's worth taking a second to elaborate on the meaning of clarity and accuracy. Clarity means being explicit, saying exactly what is being said, not hinting at it or writing around it. And here's just one instance of how academic writing differs from literary writing. In literary writing, implication, expanding the meaning beyond the obvious is not only okay, but is actually valued. Accuracy is making certain there can be no mistakes, that what you're writing is not being misread. The conventional approach to this in the academy and academic writing is to employ claim-based arguments supported by evidence. Three more quick points. First, it'd be great if all reporting and research and other academic work were clearly written and accurately written, but it's not. That's why building good habits of analytical reading is so important. The second is that each discipline has its own way to record and present research. Comp 1 course really is an introduction course. It teaches the major conventions of academic writing. In subsequent courses, students learn and practice discipline-specific conventions. My third point is that behind the conventions of academic writing are the conventions of academic thinking, also known as critical thinking. In fact, I'd say the AP Lang course learning outcomes really are critical thinking. And I define critical thinking as reaching conclusions and making decisions based on credible evidence. We're teaching kids both to recognize and identify straight thinking and to compose straight thinking themselves.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's really heady stuff.
It is. And that's what makes the course so much fun to teach and so much fun to talk about.
Great, yeah, and I'm thinking about the exam and the skills that the exam assesses. And I'm actually going to try to share a screen here one more time. Instead of sharing the course framework here, let's just take a quick look at the exam overview. Can you see that?
Sure.
Okay, so the AP language exams multiple choice questions. So it has multiple choice questions. Half of them are reading questions, right? So these reading questions, and then question number 2 of the free response question, requires students to be prepared to analyze not only academic arguments, what you're talking about, that is what we want our kids to become proficient at writing, but also narratives, letters, speeches, eulogies, and more. To help our students recognize nuance and complexity in language and in argument, we have a super wide scope of writing genres to choose from and to use in the AP language classroom. From those that students may see on the Lang exam, to journalistic writing, to business writing, and even fiction and poetry, although I agree with you when you say that could lead to peril. All of these genres can be used to sharpen students' skills in close reading and rhetorical analysis. But I think it's even more important to keep clear in our heads that there's a much narrower focus in the type of writing that we are trying to coach our students to gain proficiency in. While the reading is wide, the writing is very narrow. We see that with the writing questions, the multiple choice writing questions, and also question 1 of the free response and question 3, the synthesis and the argument question. These are designed to assess students' skill at a very specific kind of composition, writing academic arguments. And although narrow in scope, this skill is narrow in scope relative to all the various types of writing that exist out there, this writing task on the language test is still far broader than the task they are asked to undertake on the lit exam, which is simply to compose 3 literary analysis arguments. And for that matter, in most high school English classes.
Okay, so I'm going to just say the takeaway from our discussion is, in fact, never to forget the kind of writing we're asking kids to do in the AP Lang course is distinct from the kind of reading that they have to do in the lit course. We're asking them for 2 different things. We got to be honest, Dan. I mean, these 2 subjects are going to be taught in the same classroom by the same teachers, and with the same students. And I want to urge teachers to carefully distinguish between these 2 kinds of reading that they're doing, why they're separate, why they have different purposes, so that they don't confuse one with the other.
That's a great.
Maybe we could come up with something that could do that, but maybe we don't want to do that today.
That's right. Well, maybe we'll have to do this again. But thank you, and I hope everybody has found this helpful.
So do I.
Thank you, Don.
Bye-bye.
Take care.